Tell us a little bit about the controller customizations like the Xbox Design Labs offerings. What it reminded me of was Moto Maker, Motorola's kind of, I don't know, interface for tweaking your Motorola phones. Is it kind of like
Indeed,
that?
indeed. It's the Xbox Design Lab was announced at E3 this year, and it allowed you to go and make your own controller design, picking from 7 different discrete options. You could change the front face plastic, the back face plastic, the top bumper and trigger assembly, the joysticks, the D-pad, that ABXY grid, and those two, the mode and start buttons, which used to be select and start. You can see there some examples of designs I made in the interface. This one right here, black, orange, and white, is an Ars Technica style design since that's Ars Technica's colors. The next one I lovingly called Clown Fart, which is bright yellow, pink, blue, purple, orange, all the colors clashing as intensely as I possibly could make them. I actually wanted to make that one very badly, but my coworkers vetoed it. The one that comes afterward is a lot more modest, where I simply picked colors that matched. I had the bumpers and triggers match the joysticks, and I had the buttons and the D-pad match the back. So you get this sort of gray, white, red, semi-unified design. But it lets you sort of make whatever the heck you want. The results can look good and they can look bad. The gray, white, and red one turned out really nicely. It turned out just having 2 to 3 dominant colors and making them all match up really worked well. The gray pops very nicely. The red pops really nicely. However, you can't apply all of the color choices. There are 15 in all to every single part of the controller. So for example, the joysticks, they can only be about 7 colors, and many of them are just different versions of dark. So you end up having, if you want to make a unified piece where the joysticks and the ABXY match other things, you're a lot more limited. The all-white construction I found does not reflects white kind of funny. And black on the bottom didn't quite look as good. Ultimately, the web interface only tells you so much about how this controller is going to look in real life. So I think it's a really cool option that's been put out there. These aren't shipping to customers until September, but Microsoft was nice enough to let Ars Technica get a crack at the first wave of them. And I think it's cool if you can go on the website. I think if you just Google Xbox Design Lab, that's better, or it's xbox.com/design lab, something like that, where you can go through the web interface, make stuff up. The biggest thing I would say about that interface is it's got an all-white background. And chances are, when you're playing a game, you're not holding a game controller against an all-white background. You've got it on a couch, on a table, or in your hands. So you might want to, I wish Xbox would do this, but I really do wish they would make it so you could take that design and put it on a different background, or make it look like it's in hands, or use, there's a 3D effect as like that, but it's just not the same as having it in real life. I actually said that I had controllers. They're on the other side of my office right now. I would actually have to jump up and go and grab them. But it's a pretty good indicator what you can see right there on the screen of both that interface and then how they turned out at arstechnica.com. That review has a ton of photos of zooms if you missed any of the ones that we showed here in the video version of this cast. $80 to get a controller, $90 if you want to have it engraved, to have a little phrase put at the bottom between the D-pad and the second joystick. I don't think that text, $10 extra, is worth it. The text is very gray and flimsy to read. There's certain light where you just can't see it at all. It's just not very bold. You're better off getting a Sharpie out and etching something very carefully yourself than paying $10 for Microsoft to do so kind of crappily.
And then I suppose the final kind of point on this, because it's a controller, how did they perform?
They are pretty much exactly the same. I have another one. Here's a hint of what I'm working on this week. This color suite is from the Xbox One S, which I'll be talking about next week. But the biggest difference, you probably can't see it on webcam because it's a white controller, but it's dimpled. There's a little bit of a dimpling on the back here, a texture, which means when I'm holding it and I get really sweaty, it grabs onto my hand just that little bit easier. It's just got this little tiny, tiny ridges, little goosebumps on there. So when I'm holding the controller and I sweat because I am a sweaty controller person because I'm an Irishman, it stays in my hand a little firmer as I'm trying to get that high score or whatever. And beyond that, the other difference is that they've added Bluetooth functionality to it. That being, you used to need an adapter or a cord to make an Xbox One controller work on your computer. Now, Microsoft has talked a lot about Xbox on Windows. They really want you to feel comfortable taking your Xbox experience to your computer because they realize that's one thing they can make people like Windows 10. So Bluetooth lets you do that in a way that doesn't require an extra dongle like they used to do if you want it wirelessly. So The problem is that Bluetooth functionality, it might not work for every computer. You're going to need to upgrade to Windows 10 in order to take advantage of Bluetooth on the newer controller. So for anybody who likes to use these with a Mac or with their phone, you're going to get some weird button assignments. I tried syncing this up to my Android phone, and it worked, but I had to go into each app and individually map out the buttons and assign them randomly and weirdly. So those are the two main differences. Feels a little more comfortable and gives you a Bluetooth option. So if you want to play some of these 4 or 6 player games on computer and you've just got a bunch of these laying around, you have an easier way of doing so.